Hello and welcome to Max and Tillison once again. This week I am going to button up this 1968 Sportster XLCH, and until last week I put two brand new intake O-rings on this bike, and I retuned the motorcycle, retimed it, and I rerouted all the fuel lines on the bike. And now it's time to put everything back together again on the bike and put the original copper air filter and reinstall that, and put the air cleaner back on and get this bike back on the open road again. So let's go ahead and we will reinstall the old 1968 copper air filter, and we'll put that in place. This is the cutout for the air cleaner on the 1968 Sportster XLCH, and that cutout is there to clear the magneto, and it's very specific to a magneto XLCH back in the day. So it's the original one, and I'm just putting it right back in place again. Let's get the proper size screwdriver here, and we'll torque these two air cleaner screws down nice and tight, but I'm not going to over tighten them. Just snug them up, and a little bump after that, and that's all it really needs. And you never want to over torque these things, okay? I've seen a lot of these carburetors cracked because guys really start cranking on the screws, or they put some sealer into the threads and they hydro lock them, and then they crack the carburetors like that. So just use your common sense and don't over torque them, especially when you're screwing down your air cleaner base plate. And I'll just wipe all my fingerprints off the air cleaner and make it nice and clean. It's a very satisfying stage to where you're able just to button things up like this, and you're all, you sorted out all the bugs of your bike and all that, and it's running great, and it starts easy, and it's running really powerful and smooth, and there's nothing left to do except wipe off the fingerprints. That's a nice stage to be at. Okay, last year, before I stored this bike away last fall, it started to crack and pop, and I knew I had an intake leak, and but I didn't realize also I had a really bad set of spark plugs because the bike started to miss. So what I actually did after I changed the O-rings out, I happened to have this box of original Harley Davidson 4R spark plugs. And I put a new set of spark plugs in it, and with that and changing all the O-rings on this bike, it made all the difference in the world. What a difference between the O-rings and a brand new set of spark plugs. It's a whole different motorcycle. It starts on the second kick, on the first kick. It's easy to start up when it's cold or when it's hot, and it really comes on strong. It doesn't miss. And I had these old spark plugs in there, and they were just a little bit too old, and I just changed them out. I tried NGKs before, and they just don't work right. And I tried different plugs, but the best plugs I found to work really great on these old iron heads are the original Harley Davidson 4R spark plugs. They work the best. They make a heck of a difference. I guarantee it. So I got a couple of boxes of these things. And I had put a brand new set in. I set the gap, and boy oh boy, what a difference. Okay, before we start the bike up, let's go ahead and check our oil first and see where it is. I think last time I checked it, it was a little bit low, about a half a quart low, I think, because when I did the oil change, I didn't fully fill the oil tank. So it's probably about a half a quart low. And they happen to be out of oil, so I'm going to have to pick a quart up. But for now, it's okay. I'm just going to start the bike and take it down the road for just a short ride. Now I use straight 60 motor oil on this bike, and that's the best all-around oil I found for the temperatures that I ride the bike in, which is roughly from about 60 degrees to about maybe 85 or a little bit more than that. And I always recommend using straight weight oil only, just like the factory says to do. And I'm not going to tell you guys, to put thicker weight oil in it or whatever. You do what you want. But I've had great success with running straight 60 weight. And it's not hard on your oil pump either. And it circulates better. And it holds up the heat too. Okay, this bike is ice cold right now. I haven't started in 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and I'll retard the magneto. And that's the first thing you do when you start it, either hot or cold. Always, always, always retard your magneto before you attempt to kick it. If not, you're going to pay a price. Okay, I do have aftermarket tickler kit on my Tillotson carburetor. And I'm going to reach under there and pull up the tickler button just once, for about a second. And that's going to allow fuel to flow right into the accelerator pump, which will make this bike so much easier to start. So I have a full accelerator pump full of fuel.
Hot start. 1,
and I recommend that to all you guys, believe me. Because when your bike sits for maybe a week or two, all that fuel inside your accelerator pump, it all goes away. And then you have to fully choke the bike and start prime kicking and prime kicking and prime kicking. And it's really difficult to draw fuel like that just by prime kicking. So I highly recommend putting an aftermarket tickler kit on your Tillotson carburetor. It's going to make life so much easier, and you're really going to cut down on all those prime kicks. Now here I inserted an old video of when I put a tickler kit on my Tillotson carburetor. And I tickled it once, and then I was able to have that accelerator pump full of fuel, and you've seen that when I turned the throttle, it was squirting a nice stream of fuel right down the carburetor throat without all those prime kicks. Okay, now again, this is an old clip that I inserted into my new video here. And I want to show you something after I shut this bike off. Okay, and I want you to look right down the carburetor throat, and I want you to look kind of closely. That fuel is still starting to flow. It keeps flowing and flowing, and it's going right down the carburetor throat, even though the bike is shut off. Okay, and that's because I have a stuck check ball in this Tillotson carburetor, and it's a common thing with these. So I'm going to have to get in there and pull out that Welsh plug in this carburetor. I'm going to have to free up that little check ball inside this Tillotson carburetor. It's a common thing. Okay, let's get back to our brand new video now. This bike's ice cold, and I'm going to attempt to start it. Okay, I just tickled the carburetor, and I twisted the throttle about 6 times to squirt some fuel in the carburetor, and I returned the magneto. I don't have a choke on at all. That's 1 kick, and that's 2 kicks. It started on 2 kicks. And that's when I changed the O-rings, put a brand new set of spark plugs in this bike, and I retimed it, so the timing is right on the mark. 2 kicks, guys. And that's when the bike is cold. And when it's hot, it does the same thing. About 1 or 2 kicks. I just give it a couple of shots of fuel, I retard the magneto, and 1 or 2 kicks. When this bike is hot, it starts right up. You just see me do it when the bike is cold. And that's the difference when you put a brand new set of O-rings in there, you have a good tune on your bike, and you give it enough fuel. And that's a big mistake a lot of guys make. They don't give these things enough fuel when they're cold. And so that's where my brand new tickler kit comes in. It introduces fuel and cuts down on all those unnecessary prime kicks. Now it's okay to prime kick your bike just to prime in your oil pump, maybe 3 or 4 times, but you shouldn't have to sit there and to prime kick your bike until you're blue in the face, and you're still not drawing any fuel into the carburetor, even with the choke on. And I tied down that cork boot after I was done with this clip right here. So I have that cork boot in place. And I also realigned the front end of my bike, so it's really nice and straight now. Now the bike sounds so even. It sounds like a different machine actually. Once I put some rubber O-rings in there and, you know, did a complete tune on this thing and went over everything. It's a different animal now. And it's a healthy running machine, and it doesn't overheat. It revs really fast. It doesn't miss, and it's got gobs of power. I just got back from a little short run over here, and just got back here, and you can just hear the bike running. And it's idling at about 1,000 RPM, as you can see on the tachometer over here, right at 1,000 RPM when it's warmed up. And listen to the motor running. It's nice and even. You don't hear any crackling or any popping or anything like that. It's running very smoothly and very even. Now this bike is all sorted out and it's ready for the road. I'll go to the gas station pump, shut the bike off, fill it up with fuel. I'll give it a couple of twists of fuel, and 1 or 2 kicks, it'll start right up, guys. Not a problem. And I can repeat this procedure over and over again for you guys. It'll start immediately when it's cold outside. So this is the result you get when you change your O-rings and you put a fine tune to your bike and you're getting enough fuel and you know a little bit about the Tillerson carburetors. They really run great. You can see I have my fuel filter pointing down, and so the fuel flow is not flowing up into the fuel filter. It's actually flowing down into the fuel filter. And I'm going to change that to a steel one anyway. I hope this video helps you guys out, and so you can sort your bike out as well like this, so it starts very, very easily. I get a lot of questions sometimes on you know, how to tune these bikes, whatever. But you got to go with the basics first. Make sure you're in a good tune and you have enough fuel. So again, I want to thank you guys for watching Mags and Tillerson, and I hope you push the like button and subscribe. So until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next video. You take care.